Thanks very much for inviting me to speak to you. It's quite a daunting task to speak before these pitches, but please bear with me and you'll have the main course after the entree. It's 5 to 12. How often have you heard that when people talk about the climate? It's 5 to 12 or 1 minute to 12. I actually don't find the metaphor particularly helpful. It doesn't work for me on several levels. One is I've followed climate conferences for the last 15 years, and I promise you every one of those climate conferences, it was 5 to 12. So either the watches are broken or someone's playing a cruel joke here. The other reason why I don't like it is what happens when we reach 12 o'clock? Do we just all stop? Or do we have a big party and say, well, we can't really do anything about it anymore, so we might as well enjoy ourselves? It's a very difficult expression, I find. But it's part of a larger problem I think we have when we talk about climate change, which is we're stuck in a narrative where on the one hand, you have the doomsday prophets that tell you that the world will end tomorrow. And on the other side of the continuum, you have the sort of techno-optimists that will tell you everything's easy, technology is going to solve everything, don't you worry. And while the doomsday prophets ignore the progress we've made, the real progress we've made in addressing the climate crisis, the techno-optimists ignore the deadly threat. And I think both of them are making a real mistake. The convenience of those positions is, in both cases, you can basically continue as you have always been. You can continue business as usual. Because for those who resign, it's, well, we can't really do anything about it anymore anyway. And for the techno-optimists, we don't have to do anything because the problem's going to go away on its own. And I would suggest we need something else. We need a real alternative. We need a space between those two extremes. We need a space of real hope and of concrete action. And let me explain what I mean. Real hope. I think hope is incredibly important because I meet more people today who tell me that they think nothing can be done about climate change than deniers of climate change. And actually, some people have gone straight from one camp to the next. They used to deny climate change and they very conveniently switched over to, well, there's nothing we can do about it. So I think we need to give people that hope, real hope, not some illusionary hope, but real hope that action is possible. Think of Martin Luther King. He didn't say, I have a nightmare. It's a lot more convincing if you have a dream and try and take people on your journey with I have a dream than I have a nightmare. So, yeah, that's for Martin Luther King, not for me. So I think real hope is incredibly important. And not sugarcoating. Let's be serious about the deadly threat to our existence that the climate crisis poses. But then let's also be serious about the actions that we can take. And those concrete actions are so important because they, to me, are the alternative to just sort of saying, well, someone should be doing something. Someone up there should be doing something to address this crisis. That, again, is a very convenient position to take. But it's also an alternative to the position I come across a lot where people are genuinely depressed about the current state and about the fact that they feel, well, whatever I do, it's not going to make a difference. And that is, especially in young people, that is something so depressing when you see that because you really want to give people the impetus to change something. So I think between this sort of global level where I can't address anything and this sort of personal level of I can do something but it seems irrelevant, I think there's a space in between there. And I think that is exactly the space that we are talking about tonight, the place where real action can take place. And I think that's where initiatives such as Spotlight come in. And I think they are so incredibly important basically for three reasons. One is they bring together people with ideas, with money. And if you have great ideas, but you don't have money to do something with, then there's a big risk that you just end up dreaming. If you have money but you don't have people with ideas, well, you have a very nice bank account, but it's not really going to give you very much in terms of satisfaction. It's only when those two things come together that really something can click and something can happen. So I think that's one reason why these kind of events are so important. The second reason is, if you look at the 7 finalists that are going to pitch tonight, what really impressed me is how they address very different levers of the climate crisis. Some of them go after the political framework conditions. Others develop market solutions, and yet others look at education or personal conduct and things like that. And that is so incredibly important, because do not believe the salespeople who tell you there is a silver bullet solution to climate change. There isn't. What we need is action on all those different levels coming together. And that's where it gets exciting, when those different levers come together. So no silver bullet. And finally, and that's the most important reason for me why I'm so enthusiastic about this event, is the community aspect of it, which Natalie talked about. Yes, there is a jury here. Yes, there's going to be an announcement about who won. But that is not the most important thing about tonight. The most important thing about tonight is the community that is being created by it. The community of the people in this room, the community of the people who are watching this online, who have been engaging over the last couple of weeks. That's what it's really about. And to get that alive and thriving into the future, that is the real challenge we have. So make no mistake, this is not some sort of late capitalist pissing match where one guy takes it all. This is something much more fundamental about collaboration. And that's also at the heart of why WWF, we've been supporting this. You know, when Klima Now, or the organization to be that didn't have a name at the time, came to us, you know, we have basically 2 ways we could react. We could react in the sort of classical competitor and new entrant kind of logic, where, you know, here's a new organization. They might be taking some of the funding that would otherwise go to us. So let's try and stamp them dead as fast as possible, or keep them small, right? That's the sort of the competitive logic. That is not the logic with which we will solve the climate crisis. We need collaboration like we've never collaborated before. Natalie talked about an ecosystem. That's what this is about, a thriving ecosystem where we help each other to be successful, and where one party's success is everyone's success. And I think that's where we really need to go with this. And that's the exciting thing about this initiative. So I'm going to hand over the floor now to the pitches. But I'd just like to leave you with that sort of idea. You know, creating a space where real hope, concrete action, and genuine community can come together. If that works, who can stop us? Thank you.